want to tell you about the worst week of my professional life. I had just quit my job. My visa had 4 months left before it expired. My savings could maybe be stretched for 3 of those 4 months if I didn't eat much. My mom could not help me. She was a widow trying to become a small entrepreneur, so she had very little cash flow. And I was not a missionary. So there was no support letters to write, there was no church behind me, there was no agency, no system. It was literally just me. The 4 walls of an apartment that was not in the country that I was born in, and that bank account and calendar counting down. I sat down with a notebook one night and tried to do the math. Every way I ran the numbers, the math said the same thing. You have to find another job, fast. Any job, because the visa will expire. The rent does not wait. I didn't know how to turn what I knew into income that did not depend on a boss saying yes, income that did not need a visa sponsor, income that did not need a support letter, that could travel with me and allow me to follow God wherever He called. And here is what I did not understand sitting in that apartment with 4 months on the clock. That problem was not actually a problem, because God knew that He was going to teach me what I can now teach. This problem I was learning to solve in my own life was the exact problem I would one day, today, spend my life helping other believers walk out of, so they could go where God was sending them. If you have been carrying a problem for long and wonder why God has not just lifted it off of you, stay with me. Because today I want to show you that the problem in your life, it has a purpose. How to solve it, and exactly how this is the next piece to start your own digital business. Welcome to Freedom to Follow. I am Salime. If this is your first time here, this is a podcast for believers who want to build digital business for one reason: to fund their obedience. To create the kind of margin that lets you say yes whenever God says go, or give, or stay, or plant, or write, or send, or train, or serve, whatever your calling may be. For over 20 years, I have been building digital businesses and platforms. And I am here to save you from the mistakes, hand you the frameworks, and help you build something that puts that income where your calling is. Everything we talk about comes with a free exercise waiting for you at www.latinpreneurs.com/the vault. This week's exercise is one of the most important pages you will ever fill out. I'll let you know what it's about in a minute. If you're one of my regulars, welcome back. Last week, we built the person you are sent to serve, your avatar, your persona. This week, we're going to name what you are here to do for them. Let's get into it. So last episode, I asked you to picture one person. I want you to keep this person, your persona, in your mind right now. The one you started building for, the one you know intimately. Maybe you even gave her a name. Maybe not yet. It's okay. Either way, hold her there. This is your persona or your avatar. Now, let me tell you something that I had to figure out the hard way. Years after that visa countdown, after I had built my first business, after I had figured out how to turn what I knew into income that did not require a boss, I started teaching other believers to do the same thing, informally at first. But I thought my job was to teach them everything: marketing, funnels, emails, offers, tech, content, all of it. So I did small workshops, but I packed them full. 3-hour sessions, 5 frameworks per session. I would walk people through the entire universe, which was very small, by the way, of digital business in one weekend. And they would come up to me afterwards and they would thank me and they would say, oh, it was the best workshop that they had ever been to. They took notes, they bought some of the products I had, and then nothing really happened. They would not build. I could not really figure out why. I had given them everything, the full picture, that complete system. Until one afternoon, a friend from Mexico, after a session, pulled me aside. And she said something that stuck to me right there. She said, Salime, I do not need you to teach me everything. I need you to help me with one thing nobody else can help me with. That thing is what I came here for. And so I asked her, what is that thing? And she said, I am a believer. I have professional skills. I am bilingual. I have been called to a specific work. And I cannot find anyone who can help me build a business, a digital business that funds my calling without compromising my faith or abandoning my family or pretending that my cultural identity does not exist. Everybody teaches only one piece. You are the only person that I have who teaches it integrated with mission, Christian mission at the center. In that moment, I got it. She needed me to be an expert in everything. She needed me to be the expert in one thing, and only one thing: the intersection of faith, cultural identity, missional calling, and digital business, built by someone who had actually lived all of those at the same time. Built by somebody who had once sat in that apartment with 4 months on a visa and had figured out how to turn that skill into income fast. This was my assigned problem. It kind of picked me because I had lived it, and because there were thousands of believers downstream of me before they had a solution on the same road who needed someone one chapter ahead to turn them around and then the map, the solution. So this is what an assigned problem is. And here is what I want you to hear today. That thing that you have been calling your wound, your messy season, like the hardest chapter, your years of being stuck, your detour, your delay, it has been ground for you to find your assigned problem. That is the foundation of it. God does not waste a single chapter. He is building the curriculum, what you will need to teach your digital business. And that is super, super helpful. This is what we are going to call the assigned problem. The assigned problem is the one thing you are best positioned in the world to solve for another person God has sent to you, because he or she have a problem you have walked already through. You have thought through, you have figured out, and you know more deeply than your average person. So we need to talk honestly. We are not going to talk about the problem you find the most interesting to solve, or the problem that pays the most, or the problem that is most popular online, unless you're an expert in it. But the easiest way to find the assigned problem is to find something that you know so intimately because you lived it that you can solve it for someone else. So your assigned problem sits where two things meet: what your persona or avatar is stuck on, and what you already walked through and have language and solutions for. Now, the intersection might be small, but that is the whole point. That is what makes it yours. Your digital business is not built on what you know in general. It is built on what you know specifically, that thing you can speak about in a way that nobody else can because you have been there. It not only makes it hard for other people to compete with you, but it also means that you are best positioned to help and serve. And here's the part that most other teachers will leave out. The reason this matters is not just because this way your digital business works. It is also because you are not wasting what God has allowed you to go through. Now, episode 4 gave you the who. This episode will give you the what. And underneath the what is the why. The why is the mission. So persona plus, problem plus, mission will be your foundation. So I want to show you today how to find yours. There are 4 questions I want you to sit with this week. There's 4 questions that take you from I help people, which is to general, if in case you have not heard last week's episode, to one sentence. I help my person from last episode, episode 4, solve this problem so they can get this result and so I can have this missional freedom. Now, the last part is super important, and we are going to learn about why. Question number 1. What is the thing your persona, your person, is stuck on right now? Your who. So go back to the person you built last episode. Look for your persona, your avatar. What is the thing keeping them up at night? What did they Google last week and not found a clean answer to? What is that conversation that they keep having with their closest friend that ends in tears or frustration? Now, your person has many problems. You are looking for the loudest in their life right now, the pain that they would pay money to make stop. So write that down. And be, again, super specific, be as detailed as possible, so you can try this out. about. So for instance, they have stable salary, but they thought of staying in this job for 5 more years, make them like sick to their stomach, and they have no idea where else to go that pays close to what they have. And meanwhile, they feel God calling them to do something they cannot follow to afford. That is something that, for instance, I can solve. My mission is in there. So your mission will be where real problems for real people that they are tangled in. Okay, question number 2. What is the thing that you have walked through that gives you language for this problem? And this is one that many people will miss because they get embarrassed of their own story. But I want you to make a list and be super honest than you usually are. What have you struggled with for years and finally figured out? What have you learned the hard way because nobody else taught you? What problem did you spend money or lose sleep over or cry about so often that you had to solve? What is the thing that your friends now ask about because they know that you have lived it? What did you have to walk through and keep saying yes to what God was asking of you? That list is your candidates. Those are the problems you have language for that your avatar does not have. That's your assigned problem. And I promise you this, God did not let you walk through this for nothing. So find out that problem that you're best positioned to solve. Question 3, where do these two lists overlap? Look at where your persona is stuck on, and then look at what you have walked through. Find a place where they overlap. Sometimes the overlap is like obvious. The problem is they have exactly the same problem that you have solved and it's a done deal. But sometimes the overlap might be a little less obvious. The problem they have might be next to the problem you solved. You did not walk through the exact thing, but you walk through the thing that comes right before it or right after it. That still gives you language they do not have yet. What you're looking for is the place where they're stuck is something you can actually solve for them. And now question 4, what does the result on the other side look like for them, but also for you? And this is super important. Every problem has obviously a result attached. And if this is going to work, it has to have these two halves. The first half is what changes for them. And no, it's not like they will be happy. We need to know what will be tangibly different. What does their life look like after? What does their bank account do? What has happened to their own pain point? What do they stop saying to themselves? What do they start saying yes to that they could not say yes to before? Now, the second part is what changes for you. Because every assigned problem you solve for someone else creates margin in your own life. What does that margin let you do? Give more? Go somewhere? Stay home with your kids? Plant a church? Translate scripture, fund a ministry, take a sabbatical to rest and pray, move to where the gospel has not gone, pay for somebody else's training. All of this matters. The result for them is what makes business work, your digital business work. The result for you is what makes you have this business worth building. So when you put it all together, you'll have a sentence. I help my person from episode 4 solve this problem so they can have this result, and so I can have this missional freedom God is calling me into. We'll have this one sentence with two halves, their freedom and your freedom. And this will be your problem statement. Let me handle one objection before your brain starts playing tricks in your mind. You might be thinking, but I have not fully solved my own problem in life yet. I am still in the middle of it. Well, you can still teach what you know. You can teach from the chapter you are on, not from the last page of the book. The person one chapter behind needs you more than the person 10 chapters ahead. You do not have to be all the way to the end. You just have to be a little bit further down than they are right now. And honestly, sometimes being ahead a couple chapters, still walking through it, makes you more credible because you still know what it's like. This is your assigned problem. Now, last episode, I told you about Gabriela, the one with a special education background, the one that got super specific about the parent that she wanted to serve the first 90 days after the diagnosis. And I want to come back to her because once she had her who, the next thing she wanted to do, what we did was name her assigned problem. And it is not what she thought. When I asked her what problem was she solving for for that person, for her actual persona, it came out too broad, too clean. It was not the real one. So I asked her, what does that parent get wrong in those first 90 days that you would never let them do? What is that thing that they do not know that will cost them dearly? And so she paused and she said, they signed the educational plan without understanding it. They trust that the school is doing what's best for them and they signed it off. And then 6 months later, they realize that their child is not getting half of what they actually need, and they have no idea how to go back and change it. That became her assigned problem. It was not advocacy. It was helping these parents in the first 90 days after the child's diagnosis to read, understand, and negotiate their first plan so that their children can actually get what they needed. And so the parent did not lose months trusting a system that really just wants quick and cheap fixes and usually does not look out for them. This sentence is what built her business. But here's a part of Gabriela's story that I did not tell you last week. The reason she built her business in the first place was not only income. Her husband had been called to plant a church in a small town that could not afford to pay him any salary for the first 3 years. So she needed to build something that would help her family and free him to plant. That was her missional why. When she also got her specific about this problem, the parent, the diagnosis, she found her audience in those 60 days. She replaced enough of her teaching salary in 14 months to actually leave the classroom. And her husband planted this church, and this church is still standing. The assigned problem solved her audience's problem, and it unblocked her family's calling. And this is super important because that is why we are actually building. I made you something for this episode. It is called the problem statement, and it is waiting for you for free right now at www.latinpreneurs.com/the vault. You're going to walk through all those 4 questions that we just walked through. It is going to be all in one page, and we're going to solve for your personas or avatars' loudest problem, your own walkthrough list, the overlap, and the result on both sides, theirs and yours. And at the end, you'll have one sentence that will give you your mission. By the time you're finished, you will have the sentence that tells you what your business does and why you are doing it, in language that your persona recognizes, but also makes you excited. This is a kind of sentence that your persona will read and say, that's exactly what I need. And that kind of sentence that when you read, you wake up and are super excited. So go download it. It's in latinpreneurs.com/the vault. Look for the problem statement. It will take you 15-20 minutes. And please do it before next week, because next week we're going to take this sentence, this problem, and we're going to create your mission. The sentence that you will read when you doubt yourself. The sentence that will tell you who to say yes to, who to say no to, and will clarify so much. You cannot do episode 6 without what you find in this page. So go to latinpreneurs.com/the vault, do the problem statement, and you will start finding more clarity to create your digital business. Now, before I go, I want to leave you with something. The reason why I am building Latinpreneurs, the reason why I'm recording today from a different country, and every single week I record from different places while my kids are doing school next to me and we figure out the next step together, it's not only because I love business. It is because I believe something specific about what we are doing. There is a generation of Hispanic, Latino believers right now, men and women in cubicles and classrooms and clinics and cabs and cafes, who have a calling from God and cannot afford to follow it. This calling is real and burning. The skills are there. The willingness is there. The thing that is missing is infrastructure, a way to turn what they know into income that gives them freedom to follow their calling in the Lord. 90% of missionary funding follows only 10% of the world's mission force. There's not a gap in calling, there's a gap in infrastructure. And I believe that a digital business is the one piece of infrastructure that solves it, because it travels with you and it can scale and it can fund the obedience a system would not be able to follow. That is why I am building. I want to see you in your home, in your church, in a ministry across town, reaching people groups that are not being reached right now, that are going to seminary that you cannot now afford, writing books, or moving where the Lord is sending you. But it starts here with one person, one problem, willingness to look in that chapter of your life that you have been most tempted to be ashamed or hide, because that is preparation. The Bible does not promise you that nothing breaks. It promises you that nothing breaks without a purpose. God works it together. He is using it. He is building it. And the pain you solve by His grace will become the strategy for your digital business. The problem you have walked through is the problem you are now positioned to solve for one person, so that they can be free and so that you can be free to follow. This is your assignment, and nobody else gets to do this in the way that you can. If this episode helped you, if the problem came to mind and this chapter of your life came to mind, and you know what person, I want you to help others out. This is how this movement grows, one forwarded link at a time. So I want you to help me by telling one person about Latinpreneurs, because I want to unleash Latinos, men and women, to the ends of the world, because they have means to fund their obedience. And thank you for listening me and joining me. I am Salime, and this is Freedom to Follow. See you next week.